both despots, to through his model of rule extend his method for a Europe in solidarity without Hussein's model endorsed by the 10 generals of his. You need more allied firepower beyond your reservists, sir, unless, of course, unless this concealed matter turns out to be factual. What is factually going on? Make no mistake about it. He continues to blame the West and Israel for leading the riotous insurrections and upheavals, as he alleges, leaving Asia and the Far East in total and dangerous flux, again as he says. So, while you're planning for it, the defense of borders and the protection of your ports, time to activate your newest recruits with wings up there, sir. From single number clusters to dozens units per mission now. He and Iran and Turkey, despite the rift with Hussein, while your attention is diverted to the humanitarian and refugee crisis details alongside the rest of the world, our decoders, none of whom are Israeli and these self-described geeked-out nerds with a little technical subterfuge time on their hands. They have one date set and another insurance date while aiming to conduct the aerial blitzkrieg over the skies of Israel, sir. And this is cover for what's coming to your shore. 6 months later, his fleet on a wide-wrapping west-southwest course from the Black to the Mediterranean Sea, one of the US ships sinking. The US submarine defecting from home for the surreptitious higher purpose, so-called, her whole company wiped out with one of Israel's carrier fleets severely crippled with a tremendous impact and through the helm. Christian or Jeff mostly uncontested with considerable aerial cover shadows swelling the sea into a sea of demolished steel, blood red like the haze of moon overhead set afire. A real cacophonous timpani grand finale with raging seas beneath the coarse netting and dark sky blistering soared to the score of echoing blasts with leaping red and yellow and black whirling halos gliding just over the surface of water like listless spirits. Cones of smoke conspiring overhead and with crashing waves slapping against bowels of ships some short time before it happened. His equipment contrarily operable and telling him what his eyes and ears could tell. Clear causeways in an offing portending only good things to scarcely only one but two fleets, of which a few ships of his met with damage from F-16 MiG jets soaring on over top of the Mediterranean soupy mix. All of Alexander's foe positions were down to the numbers of men mapped out through advanced surveillance and sky satellite data that was still amenable to his cause and scarcely in total favoring Ambassador Nasser Abu Matter Hussein's sabotaging component and stratagem up there. Those nerd squad anti-subterfuge tinkers, two of whom were yet out of college who just specialized in signal subversion haphazarding exploit sciences that they wore like a hobbyist's art. Well, their information held close guarded and, on the day that it occurred, which itself was a signal given to certain and private interests, they watched on only on the televised full rolls as the US frontiersmen in surprise consulted while under Krishnakov's mad bombing campaign and caught inside of the frothing air saturating stench in the volley's raucous drama. One service person in stunned surprise looking to the other without a clue to answer for who'd brought the destroyer out there. 2 US flag boats as a cruiser on brisk and steady knots went alongside her with a humongous shadow of a floating something peering through a thick and shifting mist in the pervasive net of a teetering backdrop. Judah caught it, while without the wagging hand melting the immediacy of the look of summoning dismiss that ebbed some on the general's face, J-Mac added, inquiry, aha. Anyway, back to this. Simple mechanics only wear futuristic sci-fi. The trigger pull locks the grenade in chamber, might want to say. Although the sophisticated digital ingenuity to these units stands these ones apart, for how many they at once take down more so. Interposed the Lieutenant Colonel, ain't sure we can afford the expense of losing more of our own personnel to the enemy besides. Especially because of something we initiate, so-called, so we heap upon them the pleasure that's all theirs. Understood? Judah finished for him, cheesily mirroring the Brigadier Admiral's smile, flashing it toward the UK infantryman whose any response was anticipated, so said the look of confidence worn in Judah Maccabee's glimmering eyes. Each orb brightly emitting the reflection from apparatus-mounted lanterns, that, Judah observing, are as crusty old like Earth itself might as well be gargoyles reading Acme alongside their inner casing. Courtesy abandoning Hamas and Hezbollah. So why are we holding off when we deeper down in this tunnel know where their stockpiles are at? Eye for details, my friend. Eye for details. I'd pluck mine out and hand them off yeah, but I kinda require mine still. What? Confusedly eyeing up Judah through a grimace while as though surrendering holding his hands out in the air, palms dilapidated ceiling ward pointing. What I miss? Glaring, mate. Like billboard and neon lights glaring. Test for ya. Go on and mentally record some observations and let's see if it takes you all day or not. Cool. Your company charge guy under me, right? By the pronoun Judah Maccabee's reference toward where he fleetingly gazed. What's he hammering at? Lieutenant? Little assist here. Oh no. I only have 2 eyeballs myself and out there. If you gotta remember, we don't want you circumventing what instinct gives you because you're trying your damnedest to recall something I said to you. The Neanderthal out there have instincts too. Who wins with them? You with yours or him with yours and his? Don't be lazy. Hey, and there's a clue in it. Outside of your head, use your eyes to land it. Think with them. The unit captain formed pinching forceps and then probed at eyes his own. Why wouldn't I as his upline boss jihadist jolly waltz on up to him to say here's your gun? You left her outside? We'll be right back. Judah, with a forearm he rolled his non-verbal lead-the-way command out in front of the two men, after which point Judah hastened with an impressive mini-leap over the head of a shrapnel pile that his men formed out of the obfuscating junk works quarry down there where no natural light shone. The gluttonous hills at half level began to nip at counter-pulling sunrise as confiscated rockets and pocketed green duffel bags containing all sorts of armament were being carefully tiptoed over to the rear of an all-terrain vehicle's hitch-on. This two-wheeled extension to the truck with mud cakes as some unappetizing spread clodding the wheel treads was both preloaded and freshly furnished with mostly muted and innocuous idling explosives still safely outside of their carbines. Judah and the captain with an infantryman joining him took to photographing and recording the contents and jotting down serial numbers several yards outside of the tunnel's entrance that itself seemed to in this one cranny carve raise much of what was elevated over top of and around it as soldiers like busy and dutiful ants delegating to others and as though on a chain AMD crank pulley appeared and disappeared from the mouth of tunnel. Shadows yet to have their interdimensional say. What? It only took me 30 minutes. With your eyes would have been sooner, but who doesn't have a wee little bit of expendable time to waste? So they're being recased with jackets then. That's all besides the obvious digital infrared trip sabotage stuff inside, no. I wouldn't say it like that, but yes. They won't look at these and see the shaved-off identifying marks. They'll only see Israelis and Americans dead. Which is where we come in with what we see, Judah said upon rejoining the conversation. And the complete overhaul of the grenade chamber, of course. Whatever he plops on in there at Trigger's Pool becomes a highly sophisticated something else, mate. Sorry, I've been out with Sir Loquacious too long. Haha, what is that anyway? His rap name? Judah said then, nah, man. Nah, man. His smile widening with his head down and while loosely pen-tipped checking items off against his clipboard. It's cool. Judah from the reflecting thought stealing him off somewhere as soon returned to the moment. Listen. We've got Mr. Agent Clone already. Trick is to get as many of them as possible, corralling them in great numbers somehow instead of isolated from herd. Follow me? I mean they want to rave on us, we'll give them a wave of rave, dog. Only once word gets out from the lifeless first idiot box there goes widespread disclosure, so preserve element of surprise by utilizing the full arsenal of wit and craft. And we'll use our eyes for that, if that's okay. You really gotta catch these little big things, DJ. Life-saving things, matey. How close can you get without gallivanting right through the front of an enemy's protective line while across the way seeing him launch on you? This close to that wedge territory in the Mideast, the secret meeting held in Jordan with the despotic Iranian in attendance and singing his platitudes to console the mad Syrian Nasser who demanded his plan of action to recommence. All sorts of anomalies on order since 'twas largely lights out worldwide. Something that only this generation could advantage or attempt to crawl out from beneath. In good fashion the day started with a send-off from platoon and squadron leaders, each with his own way of motivating infantrymen and officers. This Israeli captain's USA counterpart might have been viewed as a composite mix of our US Sergeants Jacoby and Davies, which, depending on the hour and energies of the day, rendered him as either the excitable breath of fresh air in a smoked-out bottle uncorked by overactive and stoical antics his own, or as the sharpest and brightest wick and bulb on the tree whose gift of persuasion and easy insight gravitated a company of men and women toward him just because. One the personality to the other as intellect standing him head and shoulders taller in the room even when choosing to remain silent. The officers in charge making their acquaintance with the Israeli captain before learning his detail, manner of consisting and then through their ordered regiments necessarily fighting next to him. So you learned something, yes? Those soldiers laughed again on his ever-reliable muttered quip with him to shortly thereafter find amusement alive yet muted on his rugged face when rolled he out on his heel, with an open palm as face cloth combed over his chin while doing so, finally saying toward where he lowered his eyes, well I ain't gonna apologize for that. Hence the nickname the penitent one. For him. He continued, pacing and full body as does the scanner, a brief placed against its bed scanning so as to glean the admirable disposition and condition of his troops, knowing what to look for and what he should in no wise see gandering back at him. Same troops who stood strong, stout and yet at ease by the order he'd given them. Listen, when these three countries get together feeling they have nothing left to lose, it's called Gog Magog. When Israel reaches the same level of desperation in the name of the just defense of their people and their country, with pursuers actively pursuing, it is called Armageddon. And what do I call your time here, ladies and gentlemen? I call it nothing short of destiny. World opinion knee-jerk reaction furnishes one horse in the race that is bred of the very fated horsemen of the apocalypse heralding scarcely a messiah but death, dismay and unconscionable strickening of vital earth instead. And you see at times the insufferable signs of their trod-end path in the eyes of these ones out there. He pointed loosely outside the barracks window, but in there you read about the unconscionable lies that puts our lives in danger. Sounding the drums of war. I don't in the least bit tell you where it is. You saw where I discarded that paper. Listen, way too many of you with newspapers on your cots, a violation in here, are reminded and shouldn't have tar. Now seeing that none of you requires a weather report to enable you to get out there in the field with me and chances are good you aren't looking for your names in obits to make certain you're alive enough to be able to, I'd like to give you an 11th commandment for you to consider. Reads as thus. Thou shalt not expect sunshine if you are feasting your eyes on the rain clouds, you follow? If you're gonna weary yourselves out, don't let it be at the expense of dampening the lifeline that is your spirits. Your camarades need your support and lives can depend on it, yours and theirs. We can look around us for ourselves at the reality around us without having to consulting with the fake news in most of those news articles to see it in its inverted form. Where's my photographer and anthologist? She here yet or running AWOL on me already? I ain't the only one without a watch, looks like. His quip again generating lively displays of infused mirth. He looked at his watch for the second time and scorned it with a seething scorn and then breathed forth a barely discernible invective stream. In a contradictory cool manner, even suave, he feathered it off of his wrist and continued to address him while speaking through the rear of his head mostly until he, as coolly as might a person drop mail into a mailbox, disposed the watch. He replied to someone with a concise two-worded reply containing a past tense form in regards to the watch's vitality sign when was asked, "It's a gold watch, think it, Captain?" Several eyes turned toward the utility disposal unit before the man upon about facing finally raised his eyes again. Well, gold values down alongside very wheat in the indexes, but then again I would scarcely know, seeing that I watch values with about the same deal as broken time on overpriced watches. Maybe to ask my inquiring minds over there who might subscribe to both broken time and the news rags. Last warning fellas, lights out is different. Still the 11th commandment of mine to consider maybe, huh? Our apologies, sir. He smiled and waved dismissively and continued. The armies of the Antichrist, the very earth testifies of their wasteland intentions where all things but liberty creates the vacuous drift that nature is to be filled. Let us stop to reflect, to declare our love for all families and to extol life and virtue still, for the love of God, of self and of family. What's cook in mess hall tonight? The sun dipped below the horizon, setting the sky ablaze with hues of orange and red casting a warm glow over the Air Force Base in Israel. Our JD stood tall in his olive green flight suit with the colors of the sunset reflected in his determined eyes as he gazed at the sleek fighter jet before jumping on in her. With a feeling of anticipation mixed with adrenaline coursing through his veins and the grinding sounds of mechanics running their final checks on the aircraft, the distant hum of engines prepping for takeoff excited him still, cooking up his adrenaline pump. It created a symphony of preparation for the impending mission as JoJo found himself thinking back to those football days ever chasing him. Gearing up for the big games while anticipating the battle on the playing field against a formidable rival team. JoJo's hand grazed the cold, metal surface of the F-35 as he mentally mapped out the aerial battlefield he was about to enter, the weight of the impending dogfight settling on his shoulders like a familiar companion with many of his daring companions, too damn many. Setting out on the golden tranquility-defying day, never to make it back for roll call. Too many hollow faces floating by like punctured parade floats to say with their glum yes first, "I'm sorry, man. One of your birds. Really sucks. We're here for you." He knew for better or worse that his any future days ahead would be measured by the success or antithesis there of his experience today as a chill inside of which was clotted this reminder coursed through his spine. Knowing too that he flew alongside heroes here with no one on his flight squad to be considered a zero. Together, locked into fate ahead of time and sensing its throbbing pulse while again flying over top-it-down craft that VIN numbers were groupings incomplete without his own fighter jet, he knew they were already paying the sacrifice that could this time be the cost footed to him. With the tranquil scene shattered by the blaring bellow and eardrum-shattering wails of sirens' alarming distress calls signaling an incoming threat from the northern Israeli-Lebanon border, JoJo and his comrades sprang into action. Their training kicking in as they swiftly climbed into their high-priced fighting machines and soared into the sky. Kissing what appear like reflecting sheets of myriad diamonds comprising same sky that in their face shields and spectacles elicited a conflagration of mist haze with a wash of ethereal hues of faint moonlight's resplendent failing surrealism here as the swift and deadly dance of aerial combat vastly unfolded. Other MiG jets ordered by Russia, Iran and Turkish Iraqi issue Mirage jets to breach Israeli airspace descended like birds of prey upon the unsuspecting land below. Who hit the switch? Nighty-night at the flick of a switch. Hey sunshine, you pay the light bill this month, right? What in the Sam Hal? Something they're doing from satellite again? That's a negative NEGGERS. Look up, ain't gonna lasso no moon or sing her a serenade tonight, Miss Sunshine. Matter of fact, let your FOB tell you all. Those angels weren't lying. Stars either smoked out by us or just got a call to remove home. The air crackled with tension as JoJo and his squadron engaged the aggressors in a ferocious battle, the fate of their homeland hanging in the balance with each F-35's majestic barrel roll and Raptor's evasive maneuver. He in panic distress squawked into his helmet mic, "Yogi B. Yogi B. Talk to us. Ain't your style to go purse-lipped during mission detail?" To which someone added, "During any 24-hour period of day." "Yeah, talk back, bear." Both pilots dreading that the flaming metal junkyard soaring on past them was another qualified home team I-1er or another to remove from assets and inventory category. "Did you see him or anyone eject?" "Cockpit's gone." "Huh? Cockpit's gone as in pilot not in sight, JD. More like Fuba, mate." JoJo less cheerily mouthed. "I was right to your side. Keep your head on. Turkish onslaught ahead. It's you or them who returns to mess. Paratroopers descended from the heavens, some of the canopies obliterated in mid-flight and impaling their graceful entry with boots striking the ground hard.